Good day, this is Terry Difazio, and you're watching Dial It Up. Today our guests are Miranda Chaput and Michelle Falconer. It's great to have you both on the show, and I'm going to let you explain to our viewers why you're here. I think that would be a little more personal.
I'm here today to talk about my addiction through the years. I'm also here to talk about my brother's journey through addiction and suicide.
Okay.
And to help others who are going through addiction or who have been through addiction to maybe understand or overcome addiction into recovery.
Yes, and this is not something that people should take lightly either. For example, I've heard this said many times, it's all in your head. Well, yes, that's where the neurotransmitters live, and it is in your head, and that's what the hard part is,
Exactly.
So, how long were you addicted to opiates?
About 4 years.
Okay. And were they prescriptions or street drugs?
It started out as prescriptions. I had a medical issue and was prescribed opiates, and it all started from there. About 6 months after taking prescription drugs, I was cut off from them, and I started to go through withdrawals, which I had no idea what I was even going through. After I talked to the doctor, they had explained it to me, and I was in college at the time. And
What college did you go to?
The College of St. Joseph in Rutland.
Oh, okay, all right. Yes,
Yeah.
I know about that one. It's a good one.
Yeah, yeah. So I, of course, in Rutland, that's like the drug capital of Vermont, and
Oh, yeah.
there was everything accessible, and I had a few friends who knew what I was going through, and they thought they were helping me by introducing me to something that was cheaper and easier to access, which was heroin. And that's where it all started.
Yeah. So was heroin the one you sought out the most?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your method of delivery? Because there are many different ways to deliver narcotics into your system. What was your delivery system?
I was an IV user.
Okay, all right. People don't realize this, and I didn't either until I went to college and really studied this, but for cocaine, or crack cocaine, IV is not the fastest, most effective way. Smoking it is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's why I asked. So you were shooting
Yes.
shooting heroin, okay. Were there times when you were really, when you were in the grip of addiction, that was the first thing you thought of in the morning and the last thing you thought of at bedtime?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For 4 years, that's all I thought about all day long. It wasn't just in the morning and at night. It was all day long. It was everything I did was based on my next fix. Every single thing.
Yeah, and that's got to be tough to try to overcome when it's got that much of a grip on you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. How many did you ever have times when you tried to quit and were not successful?
Oh yeah, there was plenty of times where I ran out of money and I couldn't find another way to figure out how I was going to get my fix, and I would look at my last bag and say, okay, this is it. I'm done after this. I don't care how sick I'm going to be. I'll get through it. And I did that probably 50 times a year. And yeah, I was just, I for the longest time, I didn't have the willpower. So.
Well, it probably goes a little deeper than just the willpower, too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
There are probably times when you said, I'm going to do this, and for some reason, it falls by the wayside. Have you gone to actual rehab clinics?
I've never been to a rehab, actually.
Oh, okay.
I have gone through withdrawals and got off of heroin cold turkey about 4 or 5 times. And I've thought about rehabs. I've actually called and set up interviews with them. And I don't know why I never pursued it. I was more scared of going to rehab because I have my own apartment, I have animals, and I felt like if I was to go to rehab, I was going to lose my house and my vehicle. And so I always, every time I did quit, it was always cold turkey. And the last time as well was cold turkey.
Okay, so was there any specific reason why you felt that those other times weren't effective and this time is?
Yeah, the other times when I said I was going to quit and I went through the withdrawals, in the back of my head, I would always say, like, I'll try it again. I'll do it again. And this last time I had a big eye-opener to actually quit and get my shit together. Oops.
Don't worry.
Okay.
If we have to edit it out, we will. But in my side, personally,
Okay.
I like honesty, and I think honesty is what you are offering us, and you're sharing this with with our viewers. And I think honesty is something that more people should actually be honest. And this is exactly how you felt.
Yeah.
What was the eye opener? Can you share that with us or not?
Yes. My brother commits suicide.
And how long ago was that?
It was December 8th of 2015.
So it was recent?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. My brother commits suicide because of addiction, depression, and our growing up lifestyle. And my brother was actually going through detox when he commits suicide. So.
Was he in a rehab center or not?
No.
Okay.
He moved out of Vermont to Florida to live with our biological mother. And I mean, there's so much more to it than just the addiction part.
Oh, yeah.
But it happened in the middle of the night, and from experience, I know that going through detox, nighttime is the absolute worst. You, like, everybody else is sleeping, you're the only one up, you can't sleep. Obviously, going through detox cold turkey, your body is like, it feels like there's a demon trying to crawl out of you.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that my brother just was so overwhelmed with these feelings that he hasn't felt in so long because the drugs have numbed him. And I know that he must have just got an overwhelming feeling of loneliness, and he had severe depression and anger management problems as well. And there was loaded guns in the house that he was staying at. He was actually working with my mom's boyfriend, doing a carpenter job. And they stayed at the guy's house because it was 3 hours away from where my mom was living.
Okay.
And the guy had loaded guns, and they weren't locked up. And I know that my brother actually was talking to the guy about the guns before he did it. Like, oh, this is a nice gun, and nothing clicked in anybody's head. Like, my brother was detoxing or anything. They just let it go, and he must have had it planned out. But
yeah, and you brought up a good point, and I'd like to move in that direction for just a second. It isn't just the physical withdrawal and the physical part of the addiction. It also plays a lot of games in your head. I mean, I know cocaine addicts especially are saying that they're always peeking out their windows because they think someone's always watching them.
yeah.
And I would imagine something similar happened to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. it's well, also after being an addict for so long, addicts have ways of doing things, and when you get clean off any opiates, it's really hard to get out of those ways. And like with somebody who was a cocaine addict and they're always peeking out their windows, they're not just going to stop peeking out their windows.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as somebody who uses heroin, somebody who's addicted to opiates, it's an everyday hustle to get money, and that it's almost like you wake up every morning and it's like go, 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 go. You can't relax. You're always on the go. You're trying to find money or something to get your next fix. And when I first got clean, I was still I could not sleep. It was I thought I had ADHD. I couldn't sit still. I always was looking for something to do, somewhere to go. There's so much more than just coming off the drugs that you have to
definitely.
change. So.
Yeah, and I'll bet you can address this as well as anybody. It isn't just a matter of stopping the drugs. That's only the first step, correct?
Yep.
You've got to make what we call biopsychosocial changes. And how did you finally manage that?
You have to change almost everything.
Yes.
You have
absolutely.
to change your friends. You have to change sometimes your place of where you live.
Mm-hmm.
You have to change your phone number.
Yeah.
It's you have to change everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because your whole entire life revolves around heroin.
Oh yeah. In my opinion, this is no different than what alcoholics go through.
Yeah.
It's almost the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, I was a counselor up in the prison here for 4 years, and we found heroin addicts when they got clean and they relapsed. They went to alcohol first.
Wow.
They went because, and there's a reason for that, and I won't go into too much detail because this is your show, but the reason is because if you look at brain chemistry, almost exactly the same parts of your brain light up from alcohol as do from heroin, and actually alcohol lights up more.
Wow.
So, anyways, there's a whole big neurochemical thing that goes with this. So it isn't just simply quitting, is it?
No, not at all.
So what was the first thing you changed after you said, okay, and you stopped using, you got clean? What was the first thing you changed?
Friends.
Friends, yes.
Yes.
Yes, we used to write it on. We used to when I used to teach classes, I would change fiends. I read it wrong on purpose.
Yep.
Because that's what you got to change.
It is, and I pushed away all of my actual friends when I became an addict, and I surrounded myself with drug addicts who at the time of using, I thought they were my best friends, and I would take a bullet for them. And being clean, when you get clean, you find out who your friends are.
Of course.
And that's exactly what happened. I actually went through a breakup the same week I was getting clean, and that helped change my friend circle. But I definitely, it was hard to just tell everyone, I can't hang out with you anymore. I can't be around it. I can't. And I had a couple of friends stop by, and I had to tell them, look, you can't be here. I can't have you here with drugs on you and not do them or not ask you for them or something,
Yes.
or buy them from you or whatever. So it was really hard, but looking back, at the time it was like, oh my God, I have to get rid of all my friends. And looking back, they weren't my friends at all.
No, they weren't.
Not
were
at
they?
all.
They were your using buddies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to ask you this. Are you seeing a counselor right now?
Oh, not exactly. I started seeing a psychiatrist.
Oh, okay.
Not a drug and alcohol counselor. I started seeing a psychiatrist. I've seen him twice. But with everything else going on right now, it's really hard to balance. But I do have other support groups. And
Yeah, and it's one size doesn't fit all anyway.
not at all.
Some people do it with the help of 12-step meetings. Some people do it without. Some people need counselors. Some people don't. Some
Right.
people need, various different things. But I think because you have your friend Michelle here, when we're going to talk to her, we won't forget you. You obviously realize that a support group is extremely important.
Yes. Yep.
So how many people are in your support network right now?
Probably 15 to 20.
That's impressive.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
It is.
When I was teaching relapse prevention, we said 6 to 10.
Yeah.
But if you got 15,
Well,
that's
it's
good.
a lot of that has before I went through my brother's suicide, I had one. Michelle was my only support.
And you realize
As far as being there every day.
excuse me. Yeah, and you realize that it takes more than one person because, well, there's several reasons why.
Yeah.
Why did you need more than one?
That was a lot of weight on Michelle's shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
And I could definitely tell that I don't know how much more she could have took if I hadn't found other support networks. And there was she's not an addict. She's never even experimented with drugs, and she had no idea what I was going through. So as much as I appreciated her being there, and she was for the longest time the only person I had, I needed somebody who knew what I was going through and could help me, not just advice to stay clean, but how to get through the addiction and the recovery from somebody who had been through it, and actually be successful at it. As far as Michelle goes, she had advice for how to stay clean and how to stay away from these people and the basics, but she's never been through addiction. So she really didn't know what I was going through. She just saw the worst of it. And she was there with me going through nights of not sleeping and kicking my way out of my bed because I couldn't even stand to be in my own skin. And she just she had no idea. She would just be like, what can I do to help you? And I didn't know. There's nothing she could do to help me. So
Yeah, the one advantage you had, though, was going through withdrawal. Opiate addicts don't usually die from withdrawal. It feels like you're going to die. I think maybe 0.1% of heroin addicts die from withdrawal. I mean, Jerry Garcia did only because he had heart problems.
Right.
But if I've got someone like you, if I was a counselor, and this did happen, and I've got some guy in my office withdrawing from alcohol that's a heavy-duty alcoholic, I've got a medical emergency.
Right.
Because they can go into seizures and die.
Right.
So that's probably one thing you had going for you. You realized you weren't going to die, although probably there are times you wish you had.
Yeah.
It was
definitely.
pretty bad, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Because what it does is, opiates, as you well know, they mess up your endorphin system.
Yes.
And there are 5 different types of natural painkillers that your body secretes.
Yes.
In what's called endogenous opiate peptides. And when you screw that up and you stop taking the drugs, there's no natural painkillers left. So you're feeling every little awful thing that there is. Because if you didn't have any endorphins at all, mere gravity would be painful. All your joints would hurt all the time.
I used to say, waking up in the morning after detoxing all night and stepping on a piece of sand on my kitchen floor felt like I was stepping on anthills with the fire ants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and after being numb for so long to not just emotions but to actual physical feelings, everything hits you so hard.
Oh, yes.
So.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Were you ever introduced to suboxone or buprenorphine?
Yes, actually, I went last winter. I decided to go to the clinic here at the BART clinic here in Newport, and I got on suboxone. I had a job out here. I live in Island Pond, and I
Okay.
had a job out here in Newport that it was actually, it worked good for me because I'd come in the morning, I'd go to the BART clinic, they started me off on 4 milligrams. I upped myself to 6 in 2 weeks. And then about a month of being on 6 milligrams, I weaned myself down to 4. But it worked perfect because I worked right here in Newport. And then I got done at my job here in Newport, and at that time I was only on 4 milligrams. I had weaned myself down to 4. And I looked at myself one day and I said, I was really replacing one drug for another. And I knew, the addict in the back of my head knew that I could walk in there and just tell them to up my dose, and they would. And I have nothing against the BART clinic. I know it helps a lot of people.
Yes.
But at the same time, a lot of people abuse it.
Oh, of course.
And the addict in me just wanted to abuse it. So I cut myself off cold turkey. I called my counselor there, told her I was no longer going to show up. She told me I had 30 days. If I decided within those 30 days that I wanted to come back, I could. And it was really hard, but I pushed myself to get through it. And I did a really good job for a while. For about 3 months, I didn't touch anything, and then I started getting urges for heroin again. So then I really didn't want to get back on the clinic because it was in Newport, and I had a new job in Island Pond where I worked. And actually, my hours with my work, I couldn't have made it to the clinic in time.
Right.
I started at 3:30 in the morning when the clinic's not open, and I got done at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when the clinic is already closed.
Wow. Okay.
So there was no way I could do it. So I started buying suboxone on the street, and I know that it was abusing it because I was not prescribed it, and I did that for about 2 months until my brother killed himself, and then I stopped.
Okay. So how long have you been without even suboxone?
With since the day my brother killed himself, December 8th.
Okay, so you're going 3-4 months now.
Yes.
About 3 months. Okay.
Yeah, 3.
Do you ever go to 12-step meetings?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yes. I go to meetings in Burlington.
Okay. Any specific reason why you chose Burlington?
My grandmother lives in Burlington. My grandmother was a big factor in raising my brother. And so since my brother's suicide, I've been spending a lot of time there. I actually got a job in Burlington for the weekends, so I could spend time with my grandmother. And so there's not a lot of meetings around here at all.
You've got AA meetings, but
yeah, there's no NA.
Right.
And that's what I need, because I've never ever, I'm not an alcoholic by any means. I don't even like the taste of alcohol. So I don't feel like AA is fit for what I need.
Supposedly now, and I haven't been to any, but supposedly now AA will allow drug addicts.
Yes.
It's except in what's called a traditional AA meeting.
Yeah, the 12-step.
But I'm not sure exactly how that works. And some people have even told me that they don't want to go to meetings around here. They like the anonymity of going to somewhere else. Anyways, how often do you attend 12-step meetings?
I've been doing it less lately, but I was doing about 3 meetings a week. I haven't gone actually in a week and a half or so. But I do plan on still doing at least 2 meetings a week. So. Yeah,
I remember speaking to addicts, whether it be alcoholics or addicts, going 90 meetings in 90 days.
Yep.
If and when possible. At the peak of your addiction, how much were you using? When it got really, really, really bad, how much were you using a day?
I was using about 5 buns a day. A bun of heroin is 10 bags.
Oh,
So
okay.
about 50 bags of heroin a
Okay,
day.
yeah. Yeah, I've known a couple of people that were using that much. That is quite a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I was like a walking zombie.
I imagine so. And how much were you spending at the peak of your addiction?
About $800 a day.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is quite a bit.
yeah.
And I was going to say, what has been, what is one of your biggest regrets about having to go through all this? What if you could change one thing that this addiction caused you, what would you change?
The way I hurt people around me,
Okay.
my family and my friends, and how much I disappointed everybody. And I was born from two addicts, so growing up I had a lot of people telling me, you're going to be just like your mother, and that always really bothered me. And I always said, no way, there's no way I'm going to go down the same path my mom went down at my age. And I did. So
Yeah, genetics does play a part in this, especially for alcoholics, and I'm not sure about drug addicts also, but especially if you're surrounded by that sort of lifestyle.
yeah.
What sort of negative activities were you involved in along with your addiction?
I actually got in trouble with the law through my addiction because I started stealing money from the store that I was working at back in 2013. And I fully admitted to everything that I've done, and as far as like activities, the only thing I can say that I'm really ashamed of, other than using, is ripping my dealers off and stealing money from the place I worked at. I never stole like money from anybody to go use, or actually I did. I guess it would be considered stealing. It was given to me, but I used to call family members and give them this horrific story about how I'm stuck in this situation and I need money, and can you please help me? And they would give me money, but they had no idea that it was for addiction. My grandmother was sending me like $300 a week, and she had no idea she was supporting an addiction.
Did you ever use other drugs besides heroin?
Absolutely.
I know you said you don't like alcohol, so.
No, I used practically anything I could get my hands on. Any opiate pill, I've used it. I had for about 6 months, crack was my thing. But I always really liked my downers, so I always went back to heroin. And basically like Ritalin, Adderall, Vyvanse. I abuse suboxone and methadone.
You're actually quite lucky that you did try suboxone and not methadone. Methadone is horrendous to try to get off.
I know, it's like gets in your bone marrow, and
Heroin addicts have told me it's harder to get off methadone.
than it is heroin.
Do you have a sponsor?
Not yet.
Okay. Now, we're going to go over to you. We're going to talk about you and with you, Michelle. Michelle, you're part of Miranda's support network, correct?
Yes.
Now, what sort of a role do you play?
I'm her best friend, and I live with her.
Okay.
So.
Now, what on a daily basis, what sort of things do you run into that you have to remind her that she's going down the wrong path?
She will talk about wanting to do something or wanting to go somewhere, and I know what it's for, and I'll just talk her out of it.
And she listens to you?
Most of the time.
That's good.
Sometimes it takes a lot more to talk her out of it than other times.
Yeah. And this is another reason why you need more than just one person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to talk about setting up a support network and doing what we call the twice daily check-in. And you can fool her eventually, but if you've got a whole bunch of people, you can't fool them all.
It's easier to fool somebody who's never been an addict. And I actually took that to my advantage for a little while. But she's getting smart, so.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And how long did it actually take you to get clean?
4 years.
4 years?
Like, you mean this time around?
Yeah.
This time around, the day my brother killed himself, I had some suboxone on me, and I finished it, and that was it for me. That was it. Like, I knew, after listening to my grandmother and my mom on the phone calling me to tell me that my brother had just killed himself, I knew that I couldn't do that to them again. So I needed to get my shit together, and so it really just took that one day this time to really be done. So.
Now I'm going to ask you both this question. How big of a problem do you think heroin and/or opiates are in this state?
A very big problem.
Okay, elaborate. I want to let you do some talking. What makes you think that?
Everywhere you look, there's drugs and people looking for them. Whether they're young or they're old. They're
Yeah, so most of it's being trafficked up here from New York or Massachusetts. But I'm imagining that, there are probably a lot of local people as well. In your experience, how easy is it to score?
Way too easy. I mean, addiction doesn't discriminate age, race,
No.
nothing. And you now, walking down the street, probably 9 out of 10 people you walk by are addicts. And it doesn't, all you have to do is stand on a street corner, literally. That's all you have to do. My brother actually, 2 days before he took his life, I was talking to him on the phone, and he said him and my grandmother went to go pick up one of his friends from work, and he parked on the side next to a corner in Burlington, and this guy just hopped in his back seat and said, "What do you need?" And my brother had to scream at him to tell him to get out of the car because my grandmother was in the passenger seat. And that's how easy it is. You don't have to even give eye contact to somebody or give them any gestures. They come to you. You don't even have to seek it.
Yeah.
It's literally readily available right in front of you without having to ask or know the person that's offering it to you.
Michelle, what sort of challenges on a daily basis, what sort of challenges do you face in being part of Miranda Support Network?
I don't know what it's like to detox and go through everything she's going through. So when I'm trying to help her out, it's a struggle because I don't know what it's like. I have no idea.
Have you ever seen or been around this before? I'll give you an example. Somebody once said to me, "Well, how do you know you don't like pot if you never tried it?" And I say, "Well, I've never been hit by a bus, but I know it probably hurt." If you see enough of it, for example, my father was an alcoholic, and people throughout my mother and father's side of the families had problems with alcohol. You see enough of it, and you sort of get a clue. Do you ever experience this before?
Yeah.
Okay.
And before I was with Miranda, while living with her, I haven't liked drugs. I've never had any interest in them. And after seeing what it's put her through, it just makes me hate him even more.
Yes, and all of these things have a purpose. But as you know, we humans will abuse almost anything. And believe it or not, animals will abuse the same substances as humans except for hallucinogens and inhalants.
Wow.
You've never seen dogs and pigs get hooked on alcohol. Rhesus monkeys love cocaine.
Oh yes, I
yeah.
actually did know that.
So
yes.
yeah, it's really quite the phenomenon, and I'll have to tell you how much I've enjoyed, being with both of you, and I hope you will come back on again sometime.
Yes.
Do you have any last words for either one of you? Do you have any last words for our audience?
Basically, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and no matter how long that tunnel is, you got to just keep going. And it's so much better on the other side. The grass is a lot greener, and it's hard work. Like they say in NA, you don't get addicted in one day, so it doesn't. You're not gonna recover in one day.
No, it's a process.
And
it's not an event; it's a process. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and no matter how many times you fall, just keep picking yourself back up. And obviously, addicts are going to relapse at least once. I mean, some don't, but they're very lucky. But we all make mistakes, and everybody is addicted to something that makes them feel better. So,
yes. I know it isn't. People don't realize it, but there's people are addicted to gambling.
Exactly.
People are addicted to food.
Yeah.
People are addicted. I know people are addicted to shopping.
Yeah, well, that's me.
I even met a young man who was addicted to winning, and when he didn't win, he was a high school wrestler, and when he lost 2 matches in 1 year, one weekend, after 5 years of being undefeated, he killed himself. He was 17. No joke. He was so addicted to winning. He had won so much when he couldn't. This was, So addiction is really quite an intricate thing, and it can't easily be explained away. And I want to thank you for being on here. It takes a lot of courage, and I'm hoping that you will come back on again sometime.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. For all of you viewers out there, this is Terry Difazio for Dial It Up, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good day.